The rain hadn't stopped in days. The streets of Eastwood, a small town just outside Chicago, were slick with water and shadows. On the morning of April 5th, Officer Mark Daniels received a call about a possible body in a dumpster behind an old grocery store on Lincoln Avenue. He didn't expect much. Eastwood wasn't known for violent crime. But when he pulled back the tarp and saw the face beneath it, his stomach turned. It was Claire Reynolds, 28 years old, married to Daniel Reynolds, a local architect. 2 months earlier, she had been declared dead after her car plunged into Lake Merwin during a storm. No body had been found then, only wreckage. Now here she was, her face pale, bloated from exposure, clothes soaked and torn. The town mourned her again. Her husband, Daniel, stood at the edge of the scene, eyes red, hands trembling. "She's finally home," he whispered. But something didn't sit right with Detective James Holloway. A veteran of 25 years, he'd seen enough death to know when something smelled off. And this case stank like rot in a closed room. Holloway approached the grieving husband. "You okay?" he asked, watching Daniel's face carefully. Daniel nodded, voice hoarse. "Just shocked. I thought she was gone forever." But Holloway noticed something strange. No tears, just a blank stare, as if Daniel already knew what was coming. Back at the station, Holloway requested the original case file. Claire's death had been ruled accidental. Her car was found submerged, seatbelt unbuckled, keys missing. There were no signs of struggle or foul play, so the coroner had called it a drowning due to the crash. But now, 2 months later, her body was found in a public place. No effort to hide it. That didn't fit a murderer's pattern. It looked staged. That night, Holloway sat alone in his office, going through every detail. He printed out photos of Claire, smiling in wedding pictures, arms wrapped around Daniel. She looked happy, too perfect, maybe too good to be true. Something was wrong. Claire Reynolds hadn't died in that lake. She had disappeared, and someone wanted the world to believe she was dead. Holloway leaned back, lit a cigarette, and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't a murder investigation, it was a cover-up, and he intended to tear it wide open. Detective James Holloway started with the basics. Interviews. First, he spoke again with Daniel Reynolds, who was still officially listed as Claire's grieving widower. Holloway met him at their home, a modest 2-story house on Maple Street, neat and quiet like the rest of the neighborhood. Daniel offered coffee. Holloway declined. "Tell me about the night she died," Holloway said, notebook open. Daniel hesitated, then answered, "It was raining hard. She called me around 9, said she was heading home from her sister's. I waited, but she never showed up. Around midnight, I got a call from the police saying her car had been found in the lake." Holloway nodded. "You didn't go to the—" "There was nothing to go to. They said the car went straight down. No survivors. Did you see the wreckage?" "No," Daniel admitted. "They told me it was too dangerous to recover for days. By the time they pulled it out, there was no body inside." That detail stuck with Holloway. No body, no funeral. Just an empty casket and a death certificate. Next, Holloway visited Claire's best friend, Jenna Morales. She lived alone in a small apartment above a laundromat downtown. When Holloway arrived, she was pale, eyes swollen. "I still can't believe she's gone," Jenna whispered. "She's not gone," Holloway corrected gently. "She was alive after that crash." Jenna froze. "What are you talking about?" Holloway watched her closely. "Her body was found yesterday, in a dumpster. 2 months after she supposedly drowned." Jenna gasped. "That doesn't make sense." "It does if she faked her death," Holloway said. Jenna shook her head. "Claire wouldn't do that. She loved Daniel. They were happy." Holloway leaned forward. "Was she seeing anyone else?" "No, never. She was loyal, always." But Holloway noticed something. Jenna avoided eye contact when she said it. He pressed. "Are you sure? Think carefully. Did she ever act strange, secretive, different before the accident?" Jenna thought for a long moment. Then slowly she said, "There was one thing. A few weeks before the crash, she started getting weird calls. Late at night. She'd walk away to answer them. Once I heard her whispering, 'Not here, not now.' But when I asked, she just laughed it off." Holloway jotted that down. Leaving Jenna's apartment, Holloway felt the first real thread pulling tighter. If Claire had been hiding something, if she had been planning to disappear, then someone helped her. and that someone might have also caused her real death. Back at the station, Holloway requested phone records from the day of the crash. He wanted to know who Claire had spoken to in the hours before she vanished into the lake. What he found surprised him. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. One outgoing call lasting 4 minutes, made just 10 minutes before the car plunged into the water. The number wasn't registered under any name. Burner phone. Holloway stared at the report. Someone had been waiting for her, and Claire had known it. He closed the file and looked out the window. This wasn't just a disappearance, it was a plan, and someone had betrayed her. Badly. Detective Holloway knew he had to dig deeper into Claire Reynolds' past. If she had faked her death, there had to be a reason, and someone helping her. He started with the phone number that had called her in the final moments before the crash. The number was registered to a burner phone, purchased in cash at a gas station just outside Eastwood. Surveillance footage showed a man in a hoodie and sunglasses buying it, face hidden, no license plate on his car. But Holloway wasn't discouraged. He'd seen this kind of move before. Someone wanted to stay anonymous but not invisible. He turned next to Claire's financial records. What he found raised more questions than answers. In the month before her supposed death, Claire had made several unusual transactions. Small, regular withdrawals from her personal account. One transfer of $10,000 to an offshore account under a shell company named Silver Pine Holdings. No such company existed in public records. That meant one thing. Claire had been planning something big. Holloway requested Daniel's financials too. Nothing unusual, at least until 2 weeks after Claire's disappearance. Then, a deposit of $25,000 into their joint account with no clear source. Insurance? Holloway muttered. He checked the policy. Claire had taken out a life insurance plan worth $500,000 just 3 months before the crash. Daniel was the sole beneficiary. Holloway leaned back in his chair. So much for grief, he said aloud. Now the case looked different. Not just a missing woman, not just a fake death. This was premeditated. And possibly murder for money. But where had Claire gone? Who helped her? Then Holloway got a lead. A friend of Jenna Morales, Linda Cho, called the station anonymously, said she saw something strange the night Claire disappeared. Holloway met Linda at a diner near the interstate. She was nervous, barely touching her coffee. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want trouble, she whispered. But I saw Claire that night, after the reported time of her death. Holloway sat up straight. Where? Outside the old train station. She was arguing with a man. Tall, dark hair, I couldn't hear what they were saying. Then they got into a black SUV and drove off. You remember the license plate? No, Linda admitted. But I do remember the logo on the vehicle. It had a small blue stripe across the front, like a dealership tag. Holloway pulled up local rental agencies. One stood out, Blue Line Rentals. Their cars had that exact stripe. He checked their logs for that night. One rental matched the description, paid in cash, signed by a man named Jason Miller. Fake name, no doubt about it, but the signature was real. And when Holloway compared it to a sample from the insurance payout paperwork, it matched Daniel Reynolds. Daniel hadn't just known Claire was alive, he had helped her disappear, and now, Holloway believed, he might have had a hand in her real death. The pieces were falling into place, but the biggest question remained. Who was the man Claire argued with at the train station, and why had he killed her 2 months later? Holloway closed his notebook. Time to find out. Detective Holloway wasted no time. He pulled up rental records from Blue Line Rentals for the entire month surrounding Claire's disappearance. That black SUV had been rented under a fake name, but it wasn't the only suspicious transaction. One other vehicle stood out, a silver sedan rented 2 days before Claire vanished, paid in cash, signed by Jason Miller again. This one was returned 3 days. Later, just outside the city of Milwaukee, Holloway flagged that location and cross-referenced it with local police reports. Nothing on Claire, but there was a missing persons report filed around that time. Elena Vasquez, age 32, last seen leaving her apartment with an unknown man. No body found, case still open. He printed the photo attached to the report. Elena looked nothing like Claire, but something about the eyes, the posture, felt familiar. Then he saw it, the same silver bracelet on Elena's wrist as the one Claire wore in her wedding photos. Coincidence? Holloway didn't believe in those. He dug deeper into Elena's background. She had worked at a high-end spa in Chicago. Client list included names like Daniel Reynolds. Back at the station, Holloway requested a full background check on Elena Vasquez. What he found chilled him. Real name, Miranda Hart. Identity stolen 5 years ago. No criminal record under that name, but under another alias, Claire Whitmore, there were charges of fraud, identity theft, and witness tampering. She had connections to a known underground network that helped people disappear for money. So Claire Reynolds hadn't gone rogue alone. She'd hired a professional, and that professional was likely the woman posing as Elena Vasquez. Holloway now believed that Miranda, posing as Elena, was the person Linda Cho had seen arguing with Claire at the train station the night she disappeared. But why argue? Maybe things went wrong between them. Maybe Claire regretted what she'd done. Or maybe Miranda had betrayed her. The next step was clear. Find Miranda Hart. Holloway issued a BOLO, be on the lookout, alert across state lines. Within hours, a hit came back. Miranda had been spotted entering a storage facility in Waukegan, Illinois, using the name Lena Cruz. Holloway called backup and headed out. The facility was old, tucked behind a shuttered auto shop. Surveillance footage showed her arriving in a white van with no plates. She carried a duffel bag and a small metal box. Inside Unit B-17, officers found personal documents, burner phones, and a laptop hidden beneath floorboards. On the laptop, encrypted files. Holloway sent them to digital forensics. 2 days later, the results came back. Photos, dozens of them, fake IDs, passports, driver's licenses, all created for clients who wanted to vanish. One folder labeled Project Merwin caught Holloway's eye. Inside were detailed plans, maps of Lake Merwin, timing of the storm, instructions for car submersion, and a note, because Claire Reynolds was dead, and someone had made sure of it. Holloway stared at the screen. This wasn't just a disappearance scheme, it was a business, and Claire had paid for a new life. Only someone decided she wouldn't live to enjoy it. Now Holloway had two suspects, Miranda Hart, who might have double-crossed her, and Daniel Reynolds, who helped stage the crash, collected insurance money, and possibly couldn't let her walk away. The walls were closing in. But the final truth was still buried, and so was Claire. Detective Holloway sat in the interrogation room, arms folded, staring across the table at Daniel Reynolds. Across from him, Daniel looked calm, too calm. His lawyer sat beside him, flipping through a legal pad like he already knew how this would end. "We're just going over inconsistencies in your statement," Holloway said evenly. Daniel nodded. "I've told you everything I know." "Then let's go over it again," Holloway replied. "The night Claire disappeared. You said she called you around 9, said she was coming home from her sister's house." Daniel hesitated for a fraction of a second. "That's right." "Problem is," Holloway said, sliding a printout across the table, "her sister says she never saw Claire that day. In fact, she hadn't seen her in weeks." Daniel blinked. "She must be mistaken." "No," Holloway said, voice sharp. "She isn't. And here's another thing. Your GPS data shows you weren't home when you claimed Claire was supposed to arrive. You were near the lake." Daniel's lawyer cleared his throat. "That doesn't prove anything." Holloway ignored him and leaned forward. "You rented a black SUV 2 days before Claire vanished. Paid cash. Signed under a fake name. That same vehicle was spotted near the train station the night she disappeared." Daniel swallowed hard. I don't know what you're talking about." "You helped her fake her death," Holloway said, "and then someone killed her 2 months later. So tell me, Daniel, who double-crossed who?" Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. Holloway pressed on. "Claire hired a woman named Miranda Hart, professional identity broker. She was helping Claire disappear. But something went wrong. Did she ask for more money? Or did you realize you could collect insurance if she was really dead?" Daniel shook his head. "No, I loved her." "You loved her money," Holloway shot back. $500,000 in life insurance, a clean payout because there was no body, no autopsy, just a missing car and a storm. Daniel's face turned pale. He looked at his lawyer, eyes pleading. Holloway stood up. "We have your signature on the rental agreement. We have financial records showing a $25,000 deposit into your account 2 weeks after she died. We have phone records proving she called someone minutes before the crash. And now we have proof she didn't die that night." He paused. "She disappeared, and you helped her do it." Daniel's lawyer finally spoke. "If you're accusing my client of murder, you need more than circumstantial evidence." "I'm not done yet," Holloway said. He left the room and walked down the hall to the next interview room. Inside sat Jenna Morales, Claire's best friend. She looked nervous, hands clasped tightly together. "Jenna," Holloway said gently, sitting across from her, "tell me the truth. Did you know Claire was planning to disappear?" Jenna bit her lip. "I suspected," she whispered. "She started acting strange, secretive. She asked me once if I'd ever want to start over, like leave everything behind." "What did you say?" "I told her I wouldn't, but I think she already made up her mind." Holloway leaned forward. "Did she tell you where she was going?" Jenna hesitated, then slowly she nodded. "She mentioned Milwaukee, said she had a place lined up. She was scared, though, said someone wasn't happy with the plan." "Who?" Holloway asked. Jenna looked down. "Miranda." Holloway's stomach twisted. So Claire had been afraid of Miranda. Afraid enough to call someone else the night of the crash? Maybe someone who didn't want her to leave? Maybe someone who wanted her dead? Holloway stood up. He had the pieces. Now he needed the final one. Miranda Hart. Because if anyone knew what really happened to Claire Reynolds, it was her. Detective Holloway tracked Miranda Hart, alias Lena Cruz, alias Elena Vasquez, and at least 5 others, to a small apartment in Waukegan. It was modest, tucked between a dry cleaner and a shuttered bar. Surveillance showed her entering alone but never leaving with anyone else. The raid was swift. Tactical units stormed the place before dawn. Inside, they found documents, fake IDs, burner phones, and a laptop that had been wiped clean. Almost. Digital forensics managed to recover part of a deleted file. A voice memo, 3 minutes long. Claire's voice. "Miranda, this isn't what we agreed on. I didn't sign up for this. You said I'd be safe, that I could start over, but now I feel like I'm trapped. If you're going to double-cross me, just do it already." Holloway sat back in his chair, heart pounding. Claire knew something was wrong. He needed to talk to Miranda, fast. She was brought in later that day, calm and composed, dressed in black jeans and a hoodie. She barely looked at Holloway when she sat down. "Miranda Hart," he began, "or should I say, Elena Vasquez, or maybe Lena Cruz." She smirked. "Names are just labels, detective. You can call me whatever makes you comfortable." Holloway slid a photo across the table. Claire, smiling, arms around Daniel at their wedding. "She trusted you," he said. Miranda picked up the photo, studied it, then placed it back down. "She paid me, that's all it ever was. But something went wrong." Miranda exhaled. "That's an understatement." Holloway leaned forward. "Tell me what happened." Miranda folded her hands on the table. "Claire came to me 3 months before the crash. Said she wanted out. Not just from her marriage, but from her whole life. She was unhappy, scared even. Thought her husband was hiding something." "What did she think he was hiding?" Miranda hesitated. "Money, affairs, lies, the decisions. Her job, her friends, even how she dressed. She felt like a prisoner. So you helped her disappear." "I started the process. Got her new IDs, lined up a safe house in Milwaukee. Set up a cash flow plan so she wouldn't have to touch her old accounts. Everything was set." Holloway narrowed his eyes. "Then why was she arguing with you at the train station the night she vanished?" Miranda stiffened. "You know about that? We have witnesses?" She sighed. "Because she changed her mind." Holloway blinked. "What?" "She called me that night. Said she wasn't ready. That she loved Daniel too much to leave him. She wanted to go home. That doesn't match the message we recovered from your laptop." Miranda shook her head. "I don't doubt she left that message. But people change their minds under pressure." She panicked. "Called me again 20 minutes later. Said she still wanted to go through with it." Holloway frowned. "So what happened next?" Miranda's face darkened. "She got into the SUV. We were heading to the drop point. Then she started asking questions." "What kind of questions?" "About Daniel, about the money, Who really hired me? Holloway leaned in. Did someone hire you to get Claire out? Miranda's silence was answer enough. Finally, she whispered, yes. Who? She looked him straight in the eye. Daniel Reynolds. Holloway's breath caught. Your grieving husband, Miranda continued, voice low, paid me $50,000 to make sure his wife disappeared forever. He told me Claire was unstable, said she was planning to run off with another man, said if she left, he'd lose everything. Holloway's stomach twisted. And you believed him? I didn't care what he said. I cared about getting paid. And Claire? Miranda swallowed. She didn't know. Until that night, I slipped. Mentioned the payment. She flipped. Demanded to know who hired me. I told her the truth. Holloway stared at her. So she tried to stop it. Miranda nodded. But it was too late. What do you mean? She was already in the system. Her death was staged. There was no turning back. Holloway sat back, stunned. This wasn't just a disappearance gone wrong. It was a setup, a murder disguised as grief. And the killer had been right under his nose all along. Daniel Reynolds. Now Holloway had to prove it and bring him down. Detective Holloway wasted no time. He ordered a full forensic sweep of Claire's body and the dumpster where she was found. The location, behind an abandoned grocery store on Lincoln Avenue, wasn't random. It was close to where Daniel had claimed he last saw her alive. And now it was the place where her real death had been staged. The medical examiner confirmed cause of death, strangulation. Time of death estimated between 2 and 3 weeks prior, placing it just over 2 months after the supposed drowning. No signs of a struggle at the scene, but something caught Holloway's eye. Traces. Blue Line Rentals, the company that rented out the SUV used the night Claire disappeared. Holloway pieced it together. Claire hadn't wanted to disappear. Daniel had orchestrated the fake crash with Miranda's help. But when Claire found out the truth, that her husband had paid someone to make her vanish forever, she tried to stop it. And Daniel couldn't let that happen, so he killed her and left her body in plain sight, hoping no one would question it. Because who suspects a grieving husband? Holloway brought Daniel in for a second interrogation. This time, there was no calm mask, no lawyer's careful interruptions, just the slow unraveling of a man whose plan had failed. Your wife didn't want to leave, Holloway said, sliding photos of the crime scene across the table. She found out you hired Miranda to make her disappear. Daniel stared at the photos, face pale. She called me, Holloway continued, that night. She told Miranda she wasn't going through with it, that she loved you. But you already knew that, didn't you? Daniel looked up. I didn't mean for any of this. You took $500,000 in life insurance, Holloway snapped. You faked her death. Then when she tried to come back, you silenced her for good. Daniel's hands trembled. I panicked. She said she was going to the police, said she'd ruin everything, so you choked her. I didn't mean to kill her, Daniel whispered. It just happened. No, Holloway said coldly. You made sure she was dead. You put her in that van, drove her to Eastwood, dumped her like trash. Daniel buried his face in his hands. Holloway stood. Miranda Hart will testify against you, and so will your own words. He motioned to the guard outside. Take him away. As they cuffed Daniel and led him from the room, Holloway exhaled deeply. Justice wasn't always fast, but today it was final. Later that evening, Holloway sat alone in his office, staring at Claire's photo pinned to the board. She had been more than a victim. She had been desperate, confused, maybe even guilty of trying to escape a marriage that trapped her. But she never deserved to die. No one did. He closed the case file. Inside, a handwritten note. Claire Reynolds, victim of love, betrayal, and silence. He lit a cigarette, leaned back in his chair, and stared at the ceiling. Another case closed, but another life lost. And some truths, once uncovered, could never be forgotten.